Good afternoon, MarketAmerica. Congratulations, Gary. Thank you, your corporate team, for this opportunity. Thank you, Jim, definitely. Right, I have 8 minutes to go through this, right? Thanks for having me. My name is Brett Portelli. I'm 25 years old. But before I even get into my story with the business, I want to come in a little bit of a different direction and tell you about where I actually came from. So, my family is something that really shaped everything about me. The values that shaped me into where this has become today. Can we agree that we all live by a certain set of values? Right? A certain set of values, right? So my family, if the picture comes up real quick, right? My family, my mother and my father both gave me two sets of values that I want to talk about today, right? The first one being from my mom, right, Eileen, right? What she was teaching me was a few things. One, everything rises and falls with family. No matter what, you always take care of your family and you love them. I would actually get yelled at when I would leave the house as a kid because I wouldn't tell her, and she would be like, you have to say I love you before you leave. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you never know when the last time you're going to see someone is. You better make every single moment count, right? And that's something that it hit me later on, which I'll go into. The second thing that she taught me was this, that no matter what, no matter where someone comes from, no matter if they come from a wealthy background, no matter if they come from a not so great background, whether they went to a great school, that they didn't go to school, blue collar, white collar, it doesn't really matter. You see people for who they become and who they can become, not who they actually are today. She always taught me to see people better than they were, right? And that's key for this business. A couple other things. With my father, right, he would kind of be on more of the harder side, old school Sicilian man, right? So he would always teach me a few things. One, it was always about discipline. He said, if you're going to start something, you better finish it, because your word is everything. Don't be a quitter. No matter what, finish it. Discipline. Never settle. That's something that irritates me, from my generation, if I'm being very honest, is that people settle and they get very complacent. Something that is kind of hard to admit, but it's true, right? But here's the thing. In addition to that, I remember growing up, and there's an old joke in my family where we have this little tiny chair in his office, in the home office, and every single time we would do something wrong, he would bring us in and be like, come see me, sit in the chair. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, just sit in the chair. And now the joke is that if you ever got that text or you got that letter on your door, run. So, but basically what would happen is I would typically make excuses like any kid would growing up for justifications for why I wasn't doing well in school, justifications for why I wasn't getting ahead, why I didn't put 100% effort. And it's something about your parents, they can always tell when you're not going 100%. Can we agree with that? They always have some sort of way of telling you. I remember I was making all these excuses, and this is something that I will never forget. He literally looked me in the eyes and said, Brett, no matter what you sell me on today, you are what your record says you are. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't care, you can sell me on anything you want, but your results are what you're putting out, and right now, that's regarding with your effort. And I was like, okay. Here's the problem though. I went into school, in the college, and I kind of lost track of that. And I started my business when I was 19 years old in junior year of St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, right? And what ended up happening was I didn't understand those values. They kind of were hazy. And what I mean by that is that the first 2 years of my business, it was all about me, which is a horrible mindset, where everything was about my personal stats, my personal, UFO, sponsorships, BV, all that kind of stuff. It was horrible. It wasn't about leadership. It was about self-centeredness. And I didn't realize that I was horribly failing. To the point where at my pinnacle in 2.5 years of the business, the most I ever had at an event was 13 people after 2.5 years, which is not very good, right? So I had a realization. It was 2013. I'll never forget it. I came home, right, and here are my two sisters. A lot of you know this story, right, but one of my sisters struggles with autism. And I'm going to share you with this. I'm not going to go into all of it with what she's been through, but something that I took for granted, where I was the center of all my problems. I thought I was the center of the universe, but in reality, I came home from school. I'll never forget this. I walk in through the door, and then we have a computer in the side room. She was sitting down there, and I didn't really think much of it, but she's usually genuinely just always happy. She's someone that is genuinely happy 100% of the time, but this one day, something was off. I didn't think much of it. I went upstairs, dropped myself home, and I was like, maybe I should go say hi to Gabby. Went down there, and I swear to you, this is like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I go over there, I'm like, Gabby, what's wrong? And she's bawling over the computer. And I'll never forget, she looks at me and she's like, Brett, I have no friends. I want somebody to be with you, or be with me, and I miss you and your sister because we were both in school. And it was like, here's somebody, or for me, it's like I'm thinking about, why am I not succeeding in this business? I'm thinking about my job. I'm thinking about trying to fit in, when my sister at home is just wanting somebody just to care. She just wants someone to be there for her. And I said, what kind of person am I going to be if I can't even take care of my sister? That's more important to me than anything else in the world. Right? You know, and with that being said, this is where it kind of hit me over the head, where this business is bigger than you. If I have to be honest with you, my biggest obstacle in the business was myself. I don't know if anybody else can agree with that, with themselves, if you're being honest, but the biggest obstacle was me, meaning that I had an ego. But it was like, what am I egotistical about? I'm like, I'm sitting in the chairs, and it's like I have a big ego, but yeah, I can't even afford 3 tickets to the next event. Who am I to be proud? Right? And I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room that share that kind of feeling. Right? So with that being said, it's like it's not bigger, it has to be bigger than you. Going back to those 4 principles that I talked about, right? Where I was talking about in the business for the first 2.5 years, no growth, 13 people at the max at an event, right? Here's the funny thing. Switching that mindset, that year, read over 40 books, listened to an hour and a half of audio every single day while working a full-time job, right? Here's the thing, what happened with that. The business went from 13 people, right, to personally over 100 people today, right, with over 234 people from Philadelphia here today, right? That being said, right? Right? 234 people. I don't care. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you, when you switch your focus, everything's going to switch for you, right? And what ended up happening with those 234 people, right, going over multiple UFOs, not only myself, but within the team, right, we had 70 plus people within our organization this past quarter to qualify for SABP, right? Gen Y doesn't have money. What are you talking about? 70 plus people did it, right? That's what I'm talking about, is that when you focus on the bigger man on the team, everything comes together. And here's the thing. This is the family. This is the family. What do I mean by that? Let me go through those 4 disciplines that I forgot about that now we're culturing and growing as a team. As I said before, never settling. You know what irritates me more than anything? When people pull me aside and said, you got the whole college here today. People pull me aside like, oh, you got all the college kids. You guys bring a lot of hype. I'm like, yeah, that's great. It's also great when we succeed with hype. And I'm not trying, it's just true. Because it irritates me that people look at us as kids when in reality we're all succeeding together. This is one family. And in addition to that, right? In addition to that, you are what your record says you are. If there are people that are succeeding, the team is continuously growing, isn't there something that's going on that's right? Of course, right? More importantly, let me go into this. With family, as my mother taught me, and this is something that we breed, is that you always don't judge people. You look at them for who they can become. You see the good in them. That's what a leader does. A leader sees the value and the potential and brings it out of the person if they don't even know they have it for themselves. And lastly, you always fight for your family. And this is something that it kills me inside, because there are people on this team. I'm not going to go through it all, but I know, my best friend, the person that introduced me to the business, Drayton Hodo, some of you might have know of him, right? Right? His father, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but came down with unfortunate disease. And it's like, he needs that time to be there, because you don't know how much more time has left. Right? There are people on the team that parents are depressed with alcoholism and other things, and it's like, we need to take care of those people. There are people that unfortunately have cancer within our team. We need to make sure they're taken care of. I can go down the list. There are people that don't have, a house to live in currently. And it's like, who would I be to not fight for those people? Right? And I'm going to challenge you this. If you're a leader within this business, which I think every single person within this room is a leader, otherwise you wouldn't be here. If you're a leader within this company, you never focus on yourself, and you always fight for your brother and or sister that's next to you. Always. You fight for them, you fight for their why, and you pull it together. You pull it together no matter what. Why am I talking about this? Why is this? I'm sorry for the time, but why am I talking about this? Because here's the thing. If you don't buy your tickets, to me, you're spitting in the whys of other people's faces. That's the honest truth. Why is it that people say they want this business but can't buy tickets? Why do they want to give back to their family but can't buy tickets? Why is it that they want to give back and have the time and be there? It's like you really believe, but you can't buy tickets. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. These tickets are more than just an investment in terms of cost. If you look at a ticket and you say it's a cost, I'm going to tell you this, you're an employee. Because when anybody asks me how much does something cost, you are not a business owner, you are not an entrepreneur, you are a 9-to-5-er, you're a 45-er. You're a 45-er existing within the 2 to 3. A business owner would say this is an investment. A business owner says this is an opportunity to give someone else a dream. We have the bakery, as JR always talks about. We have something special. It's our job to share this gift, right? It's our job, it's our mission to fulfill JR's gift, which is what? Filling this arena with all the directors, everyone in here is a director. That's our mission. That is our mission. This is Project Director if you have to go into it. It sounds funny, but that's the reality of the situation because it's our job to continue this company for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and God help me, this is gonna make it, we're gonna make it work. And I'll see you guys in North Carolina.